vetted all these things. Now, yes, people have died from consuming THC that is laced with other additives, such as fentanyl, or even, the solvent residue in some products. Solvent residue is a huge issue. And yes, that has actually caused hospitalizations and even deaths. So yes, has consuming a cannabis product ever led to death? Yes, but has THC intoxication ever caused a person to die? My understanding is that you would have to literally consume the equivalent of half of your own body weight in order for that to happen, which, can't say personally, but I think that that is pretty well impossible. But I would still say that it's nowhere near alcohol is. Okay. And I don't see the bills about alcohol the way I do see the bills about cannabis. Okay. And in fact, I know many users of cannabis who choose to abstain from using alcohol for exactly that reason.
Got it. Thank you for your comments. We got 5 minutes left in the room.
Absolutely.
So we got your gist, and we appreciate you sharing with us.
Thank you so much.
Catherine Russell, if you'll come forward, please. Catherine, I hate to pick on you. You didn't sign up, but I need you just to answer 2 questions for me. 3, really. I met with Catherine as we were drafting this, and you just wouldn't believe how much time the Ag Department has spent learning how other states are handling hemp products and how best to do it. And she was our what do we call you, our legislative counsel for this room, or our research assistant? You did all the background work as we went through the first iteration of this legislation. I just want to make sure where you and Commissioner Harper are. I know you're the brains in that operation, but and the leg work. Are you fine with us including Delta 8, Delta 10, and all forms of THC in your limitations, is like we did on the SB33?
So firstly, I would like to thank everybody for having me. I'm Catherine Russell, the Department of Agriculture. We really see ourselves as an agency who carries out what is directed to us from the legislature, first and foremost.
One thing I wanted to make sure in my communications with Commissioner Harper was that I didn't impose something on you that became impossible to enforce, like if we listed 55 ingredients or cannabinoids, you can't test for those. Am I right that you're equipped now to at least test for Delta 8, Delta 9, and Delta 10 with your current setup?
That is correct.
Okay.
Actually, our rules currently require that any COA test for a number of things beyond Delta 9, and Delta 8 and Delta 10 are both currently on that list. Okay. So it wouldn't be an expansion for the producers to have to get additional testing.
Okay.
And that is readily available. The testing, the cost of the testing for us would probably go up some.
Okay. How much more money you need? I wish we had Blake Tillery on this committee. We'd see what we could do. We got time in the 26 budget.
So, I'd have to. I'm guessing
I'm teasing.
here.
You don't have to tell
okay.
me, but I do want you. You do need to communicate
we
that
do.
to us.
We need that money.
In your rules and regs, you've broken out your limits on the amount of THC in products by the type of product. In consumable hemp products, what was your first rule and regulation this fall? Am I right that it's 10 milligrams per serving and 150 per container?
For the gummies, and ours was structured just a little bit differently. We said 10 milligrams per serving and 300 milligrams per package.
You started at 150 per package.
I think we started at 150. We had a couple of rounds, and the feedback that we received from the community was that some people were taking their hemp product and for pain and joint issues, and they wanted to be able to purchase a 30-day supply at a time.
Okay.
So we considered
So
that.
I'm cutting them down to a 15-day supply, but this is where y'all started in the fall, and you're proposing to increase it.
That's right.
Okay. And then on the beverages, This bill says no more than 5 milligrams per 12 ounces, and you can't have a package bigger than 12. What's the department's rule on that now?
The current rule is 10 milligrams per
Okay.
12 ounces or the proportionate equivalent.
Do you know of any Georgia producers putting more than 5 milligrams of total THC in a 12-ounce package?
Off the top of my head, I only know of producers in Georgia at 5.
Okay. And then we talked about the topical applicants. Y'all have, those are the creams and lotions. Your current rule is 1,000 milligrams of total THC in those products. That's what this bill did. We just codifying your current rule, okay? And finally, on the tinctures, am I right that you allow up to 2 milligrams of THC per milliliter?
That's correct.
And this reduces that just to 1. All right. And I could get into the science behind that, but is this offensive to you or undermine your regime, your
Our
rules?
job is to be an agency that effectuates what the legislature asks us to do.
Is anybody using tinctures with hemp products anyway? How do they take those? Is that an oil that you take or something?
I believe that they can be administered sublingually, where they just drop it in their mouth. There are probably some folks who drop it in water and drink it that way, but I think it's intended to be administered with a dropper
Okay.
into the mouth.
All right. Thank you. Senator Ginn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Russell, help me out. If I walk into a store, I see a barrage, in convenience store or any other store, I see a barrage of energy drinks and all kinds of things. And I'm getting where I don't see quite as well as I used to. And I'm thinking, when I pick up a can of something in a store that I think's an energy drink, and I do too much of this kind of stuff, but so if I go into a store and get an energy drink, what kind of warning label or what is there on that label to let me know that it may have THC in it? Because I can see somebody unbeknownst going into a store and, if this is just, okay, it's on the shelf, I don't know, if they check IDs, you have to be a certain age, what are the warnings that a regular citizen doesn't go drink one of these, get behind the wheel of their car and realize that, wait a minute, I'm impaired, now I'm getting a DUI.
Sure. So currently, in both the law and in the rules, there's a requirement that any THC product have a symbol on it. We adopted the ASTM symbol. It's a yellow triangle with a cannabis leaf on it, and it has to be, I believe, 3/4 of an inch high and wide. And stay that proportion, and unless it's larger than the actual container. So you ought to be able to pick up a drink, and it should have that large yellow triangle for easy identification. Beyond that, retailers are not allowed to sell any of the hemp products to anyone under 21, and their signage is required, and what you would expect for those retail restrictions.
And the total amount, like I'm looking, I believe that Senator Albers passed something out that he pulled right off the internet, and it's a product called Wink. They sell a 2.5 milligram, a 5 milligram, and a 10 milligram can. And I don't know if on there if it tells you how much THC you're ingesting when you do, but like the 10 milligram can would be the equivalent of 4 beers. And I think for most people, 4 beers would get them a DUI.
Sure. So this is an area of the industry that hasn't been well developed. You can develop a tolerance to consuming cannabis products just like with beer. And so what I've heard from users that consume on a regular basis is that a 10 milligram drink for them has very little effect, and that you build a tolerance faster than alcohol. Now, that's just anecdotal evidence that was provided. So and there's very little research available to look at and to create a standard.
One more question, because I'm not a expert on it, but with alcohol, you can't change your body mass. If you're drinking alcohol, it's a percentage of what's your blood alcohol content. Doesn't matter whether you're tolerated or not. If you're above the 0.08, I believe, as a regular citizen driving a car, you can be charged with easily you fall under DUI. Even at .05, I think you can be charged as impaired. But with the situation here, when you say they may be impaired or they may not be impaired because of their